Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Comics with Callaway, and here we've got issue number 1 of Man of Steel 1986 by John Byrne. This book takes you through all of the emotions. This book takes you on one hell of a ride from start to finish, and it makes me want to have steak and eggs, which is weird because where I'm from we don't really have steak and eggs. I'm not sure if the rest of Australia is like that or not, but I grew up with bacon and eggs. I've never had steak and eggs in my life, but this book made me feel like steak and eggs, and I'll tell you that when we get into it. But this book was wow. Like, John Byrne takes you on a journey from start to finish of this book, and we all know the Superman origin story, but this is actually sort of my first real Superman book that actually done the whole, that I've read, that did the origin story of leaving Krypton. That we all know that, but in more recent Supermans in the last decade or so, you just read the normal issues. Whereas this is actually the sort of the first origin story that I've actually read. Even we know the origin story, but this is the first one I read, and like I said, it takes you through all the emotions from sadness, happiness. Just a great story. Really loved it. John Byrne art, really good. Classic old style paper. Best smell ever. And it starts off, it tells you about how he's discovered how Krypton's going to explode, and his wife doesn't believe him. And then it comes to the time where he's got to put Jor-El in his capsule and send him on his way, and just makes you feel sorry for him and heartfelt. Really good. So then they send him on his way, and he has a picture of a man in Kansas, all muscly with his chest hair and everything, and Lara's horrified because she says, "What's wrong, Lara?" And she said, "That's savage. He bears his naked flesh, his hairy flesh, bears it to the air. He touches unprocessed soil. What kind of hell do you seek to send our child to?" And the first part of this book, the prologue, where it's about him leaving Krypton, it does make it. It explains the way, if aliens were real, well, they probably are real. Who knows? We don't know, but maybe what they actually think of Earth. It goes through and tells you how sanitized and sterile Krypton is. The babies aren't born naturally. Things just aren't done naturally. Everything's done in sequence and got procedures. Everything, it's just not the way Earth works. And when they look at Earth, they think Earth was weird. They think we were weird because we dig with shovels, we do our own farming, all that sort of stuff. So that first part of the prologue was really good. It tells you all about the origin story, and really heartfelt that they've had to let their son go. Really good. And then this part is where Clark is being told through flashbacks of how they found him and the story, and how Martha wanted to keep him as a child, and then they realise as he's growing up he was not like normal people. And here where he says he was driving along and he saw his son running, and he saw the neighbour's prize bull chasing him, and he thought, "I felt like I'd seen my own life end at that moment, Clark. I ran to where you'd fallen, fully expecting to find you all crushed and bloody. That was the way my big brother Harry had looked after he fell under Mars' thresher." And just takes you on a big journey, and then he explains everything. He explains he's doing flashbacks of how they figured out he was strong, the first time he could fly, the emotions he felt when he could fly, just what it was like finding him, the spaceship. This book just took you on a journey from front to back, happy, sad, every emotion you can think of. So they have a chat, and then he says, this is the sad part, where he, sad for the old mum and pa, when he decides he's got to leave, and he's going to go to Metropolis, and do his own thing and be Superman. And then this is the part where so she's making a scrapbook, and he's like, "Good morning, honey. What are you doing up so bright and early?" And she says, "Oh, good morning, Jonathan. You were so sound asleep. When I woke up, I thought I'd let you have a lie in and come down and finish updating Clark's scrapbook." And this is quite funny. And he says, "Your scrapbook, you mean? I still have my doubts that Clark would even approve of this." And she's like, "Tish tosh, Jonathan. A mother's got a right to be proud of her own son." And Jonathan says, but maybe, but what do you suppose would happen if some burglar broke in and found a scrapbook? What would they think of, Martha?" And she says, "Oh, you've got to stop reading the big city news in the papers, Jonathan. Things like that don't happen in Smallville. And if one did, why, all he'd find is a scrapbook of a strange old lady who likes to collect stories of disasters that didn't quite happen." I thought that was pretty funny. And in this part here, besides, no one has uncovered my little secret in the 7 years since Clark has left. So he's already left to go to Metropolis. "Since Clark left, why should we worry? You just read your paper." And she's like, "I'll fix you a nice big breakfast. Ha ha, bribery, trying to buy me off for steak and eggs." And the funny thing with that is, here in Australia, whether it's different in other parts of Australia, but where I grew up, I've never had steak and eggs in my life. We have bacon and eggs here, or ham and eggs. So when I read the steak and eggs, I found that pretty funny because it made me feel like steak and eggs. So I've never ever had it in my life, never. It's sort of something that I didn't think go together, steak and eggs. But we're getting off a bit off topic here. And they found mysterious Superman saves plane, and they hear a creak, and Clark is in his room. And he says, "Son," he says, "they wanted a piece of me, Pa. They wanted all of me." And he's explaining how he, in the past, he's just been, the red, blue blur, as it was on Smallville. He dashes in, saves the day, and disappears. But on this day, they're having a celebration of the anniversary of Metropolis, and the plane, just a small aircraft carrier, collides with the main plane that they was doing for the show. And they crash together, and Clark has to go and save it, and he saves the plane, and he's immediately he catches up with Lois. This is the first time he meets Lois, and he says he says that it was Lois Lane. I'd seen her on her talk shows, been reading her columns in the Daily Planet. Now she was right in front of me, and I knew I wouldn't escape her question. So in this moment, he felt like this was someone special, and somehow I didn't want to. She's, I don't know, not as beautiful as the movie star, but she has a quality, something I've never seen in any other woman. Almost a fire in those eyes, big dark eyes. For just a moment, it seemed as if something passed between us, a spark. I like that line. Not as beautiful as a movie star, because to me, not all movie stars are beautiful. Not all looks and stuff like that. It's the qualities of a person that can make you attractive. And it's just, in this one panel, just captured that in one single moment of a glance, you can see the beauty in someone. And then this is where he said he was bombarded and harassed by all the people wanting to know who he is. So then he took off so they didn't find out who he was and what he looked like. And this is where they, together with the Ma, Pa and Clark, they make the Superman suit. And he takes off and he says, so from now on, whenever there are people in need, my very special kind of help, it won't be just a job for plain old ordinary Clark Kent. It'll be a job for Superman, and that's how it ends. And 35 years later, and this art is still fantastic. Like the way it ends, just on that cliffhanger like that, just that amazing shot, just gorgeous. Like I said, this book took me through all the emotions, and if you're not a Superman reader, I've never been much a Superman reader. Aquaman and Flash are more my DC heroes, but I have read a lot of Superman. Fell in love with Superman with the Tomasi and Gleason and Jurgen's Rebirth Superman. But I was in the comic shop probably 3 months ago, and I found this. He got these in. I think I got 1, 2, and 3. I need to get 4 and 5 so I can finish the 6-issue miniseries, and then I'll review the rest of it. But I finally got around to reading this. Got a bit of free time today, and yeah, this book was amazing. Right from start to finish, John Byrne just takes you on a journey and loves it. So that's the video, guys. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Like and share it. Subscribe, much appreciated. Ring the bell for notifications. Starting to get some content out now. And that's it. Thanks, guys.